Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome to my stream, and welcome to part 2 working on this guy here. That is our 1/35th scale Sherman tank, doing it up as a Fury. So let's get into it, shall we? Hit it, Maestro. Well guys, welcome back. We're working on this guy here. Pardon my voice. We've got quite a bit of the lower hull done, and we started to work on some wheels, right? So we got to the point where we're doing wheels, and so I did get our drive sprockets put together. Simply put one of the larger poly caps inside and then glue the two halves together. Very simple. Right? Do that twice, and I got 4 of these little idler wheels done, and they're just two halves put together. What I have not done, that I really should do, is get rid of the parting seam that's on each wheel, because these aren't supposed to have seams on them. So I do need to get rid of those, and I will get rid of those. But I wanted to get to our main wheels here and get those assembled, at least get the assemblies done and ready to be put on, even if I'm not really going to put them on yet. Okay, so our little hull here is just going to get put aside until later on. Okay, so let me change my glasses and change the cameras so you can see just exactly what I'm doing and what's involved in the assembly. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Bing. Here we are. Let's get my tools out of the way here. So, off of our A tree, we're going to need a few pieces to build our suspension here. Okay? Off of our A tree, which is the main one, find my main tree here. Where is my A tree? I believe this is A. Nope, that's K. Where's my A tree? That's R. Yeah. Right here. We got 2 A trees. Bing, bing. Okay, bing and bang. I'm going to make 6 of these guys here. So we need A, 19, and 31. Okay. So we got a bunch here. We got 3 on each tree. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's 31s, and we need 19. Bing, bing, and bing. Okay. So let's get one of these off here. We're gonna get them all off. We're gonna need to build them all. Tamiya really had to do a number on getting these things molded with 4 injection points. Sometimes you might wonder why they have so many points where you have to cut, and they usually do that because they need the plastic to flow to create the whole part. So you might be wondering, thinking, why did they do that? What a waste, pain in my butt. But there's actually a real reason why they do it like that. And it's whenever they first make the mold and then they find that the plastic is not flowing to that spot properly, they create another injection point. Unfortunately, that does make more work for you and me, but that's the way it goes. So obviously they weren't, when they first made this mold, they weren't getting enough flow to create the center here, so they put a mold right there, an injection point. Otherwise they wouldn't have put that there, especially because it's Tamiya, and Tamiya's all about precision Which is why we've come to love the fit of Tamiya kits. Unfortunately, that is a big injection mold, a big nub that you got to clean up right there. But that's okay. And you can see where the plastic was stressed and became white. And you see that all the time on the Gundam kits, and so there's techniques to try and minimize that. But this is the underside of a tank, and it's going to be covered in mud. Plus, I'm painting the whole thing over anyway. This being the Fury tank, he's not going to be left in the same color as what you're seeing now. Totally different. These pieces cleaned up. I'm guessing these are little pistons. What I've seen in reference photos, it looks like these are pistons of some sort for the suspension. Can't call them shock absorbers. I don't know, maybe they are. Okay, so what do we do here? We're going to take one of these, and then we've got a round peg and a rectangular peg, and that seems pretty straightforward which way that's going to go in there. We'll do a dry fit on one just to see. It goes in just like that. Okay, so take some thin glue. You could use the thin or the thicker stuff, doesn't really matter. This is going to be covered with a lot of mud anyway. So if you have thick glue and you get a bunch splattered on there, I don't think it's going to matter. Don't think it'll matter very much at all. So there we go. There's our little pistons on one suspension piece. I'm going to do that 5 more times. And we will build our suspension. Okay, there's another one done. Oops. I was looking online at reference photos, or even I went looked for walk-around photos of the actual Fury tank. So you know, the movie Fury is 10 years old, and so there's quite a few photos of the actual tank they used. They used a tank from a museum. They did a few little things to change the way it looked because, you know, the tank in the movie is supposed to be an M4A3E8, and I think I got those letters correct. M4A3E8. 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 So it's supposed to be one of those, but the tank they actually used from a museum was apparently an M4A3E8 or something like that. So they changed a couple of things, but whether they actually did anything to it, yeah, they changed some stuff on the front, so it doesn't look exactly like the way it is in the museum. But from what I've read online, the only difference on those tanks, between the two tanks, the only difference was the engine cover, which of course you don't see in the movie at all, and so you'd never know. So if they're looking at accurate historical accuracy or whatever for what they would actually have been driving, which tank they would have had, you can't really tell, I think. I know there's a lot of history buffs that basically cry about it for historical accuracy of a movie and all that stuff, but you know what? Just like, you guys seen my videos where I built Maverick's F-14, and I watched Top Gun, and I took a whole bunch of still shots of the movie, screenshots from it, so I could try and, as best as I could, build a model that looks exactly like Maverick's F-14. And of course, when you do that to a movie, you hit pause and you look at all the still shots everywhere in that thing, you discover something that you never noticed when you're watching it normally, and that is all the flaws behind Hollywood's movie magic. You suddenly discover how they use different models for different angles and different shots and stuff like that. And of course, when I was doing that video series, I was mentioning all that. I did have somebody in my comments actually kind of give me crap for pointing those out, because they were only allowed to use certain planes and on certain days and blah blah blah. They were really limited to what they could use for filming and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't care. I don't care what they were allowed to use and what they weren't. Don't use two completely different planes with different numbers on them and represent them as the same plane. Anyway, that's my little gripe about that. Yeah, so I did read one thing about the movie Fury, and that the Tiger tank that they used in the movie was actually the first real Tiger tank that's been in a movie since like 1950 or something like that, because the one they happened to get, they were allowed to use it for one day from the museum. The museum let them use it for one day, and it apparently is the only working Tiger, the only actual functioning Tiger tank left. And so that's kind of neat that they used an actual tank, because you'd never, to somebody like me, I'd never know whether it's an actual Tiger or not. Yeah, they did a good enough job. It looks like a Tiger tank, so sure, that's a Tiger tank. Apparently, a lot of times they just use another tank that's functioning and they mock it up to look like a Tiger. I guess they just change some panels on it or whatever, put some fiberglass panels over it or something. I don't know what they use. And then they make it look like a Tiger. but it's not really a Tiger. Whatever. Again, it's Hollywood magic, right? Anyway, so I went on, as I was getting back to my point, I was looking for still shots and stuff, and walk around photos of the actual tank, because, like I said in the last episode that I did, part 1, in the movie the tank looks like it's painted black, but then, as it turns out, Sherman tanks were never painted black. They were all painted olive drab. So that I had to investigate. I saw one comment mention something about how the filming, the way they did the film makes it look black, but it's not really. But then looking at walk-around pictures, that's not true. When I look at walk-around pictures of that tank, there is black. It looks like the thing was olive drab green, and at some point they painted it black with a coat of paint that wasn't very thick. And when you see certain walk-around pictures of that thing, you can almost see the green coming through the black in a lot of kind of very faded, blotchy parts. So I'm going to try to recreate that by painting a light coat of black on it and then kind of weathering it away to sort of show that green through it. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing when it comes to actually painting this thing. Okay, so I don't know why I changed the camera just to tell you guys that, but I felt like I wanted to change the camera and talk to you about that. Anyway, let's get back to it. So we've got more parts here. Off of the A2, more off the A3, so we want A2 to go on that part there. Is it on both sides? Looks like, no, it's only on one side. So, A2, these guys here. Put these on before the wheels, because I imagine it's going to be tough to get in between each wheel. It's going to be interesting as I put these through to see if the wheels are actually, if I'll be able to turn them. Okay, so we want the little, what they want this little part that sticks out here, they want that facing down. But I have to clean up all of them. Get that little nub off of there. There's one. The other thing I noticed on the Fury tank, on the, I'm going to call it, on the front, on the left side, on the upper hull, the upper part of the hull, there's like a red patch. It looks like there was some red patch painted underneath, and it got painted over, but it's still, there's still a remnant there. So that's another thing I'm going to have to try and represent if I'm going to try and actually build a Fury tank. So there we go, there's our little piece, it just goes on the end there. Basically, there's nothing special about the actual assembly of this kit to turn it into a Fury tank. I don't think so. From what I've told, it's basically just a run-of-the-mill Sherman tank. M4A3E8. As far as that goes, I don't think there's anything special or unique about the Fury other than the paint on the barrel. It's just about putting the stowage on the back and all around the turret that to match what they used in the film, what they had in the movie. Okay, so I'm going to put some wheels on here. We want A22 and 18. So let's grab some of those. There's 18. All 6 of these are 18. And then 22 is all down here. So now, one thing I do need to do is paint these. Okay, so I'm just going to take 2 of these here. Okay, and I'm going to take 2 of these. And I'm just going to test fit them, because this is what happens. You take this one, you got nothing there. So take this, put that axle through there, and then you glue this on there. And now suddenly when you try to paint this road wheel, you've got to paint in there, and it's difficult to actually get into that little spot, right? And sure, you can, yeah, I could take a brush and I could very carefully get in there and paint that like this, and then rotate the wheel a little bit, get in there and paint it. But you know what? When the wheel's off, well, now suddenly I've got full access to it, right? But at the same time, here's the drawback. Well, if I actually have the wheel glued on, I can hold it here, and I don't have to worry about painting my fingers. So, this is something I wanted to look at before I actually assemble it. Because some tanks, it's a real hard time to paint your wheels when they're already on the tank. And, well, obviously this one, it goes on the assembly. I have full access to the whole wheel, so I am going to install them first. But you have to clean them up. And you also have this seam line going all the way through here, all the way around the wheel, which you want to make that smooth. Because even if you paint it, even painting it the rubber black, and all that, it's still going to have that seam showing, and it just doesn't look very nice. It doesn't look authentic. These wheels are, I can tell you right now, the rubber on these wheels are similar to the wheels on a forklift. Okay, solid rubber tires, and the way they're manufactured on a hub, on a steel hub, and then that steel hub is only just a slight little hub going all the way around, and then they actually press that onto this inner hub. It's a pressed fit, right? They put it on a hydraulic press. So I can tell you that's how they do it. So I'm going to see if sanding this down will get rid of that seam good enough. Just a little bit of a sponge, or if I should use a file. I think the file might be better. Another thing the file's going to do is add a tiny little bit of texture to the rubber to make it not quite so smooth. I mean, when I paint it, it's going to smooth anyway. I do notice a lot of guys building these tank models, they do put a lot of damage on the rubber. They put damage on this rubber, little chunks and notches and nicks and stuff like that on them. And you know, for the most part, I think, why bother? The thing is so small, you're not really going to notice it. So what they do is they'll just take a little notch. They'll take like their knife and they'll just notch little chunks out here and there. This little nicks and things like that, right? Just little chunks like that, right? Little things like that, little nicks and scratches and chunks and whatever, and they'll do that on all the wheels. And well, even on the historic pieces, even on that museum piece that it's on, it's like, yeah, there's a couple wheels that have some chunks in them, but for the most part, it's not that much. It's an older. Yeah, I mean, it works. And sure, they did get chunked out like that, but for the scale and what you're actually going to see when you've got this thing sitting on your shelf. Okay, so yeah, if I'm going to enter this in some kind of a modeling contest, yeah, then I want to go crazy with the detail that I can add to it and make it real, to try and get points and whatever. For realism and stuff like that. But this thing's sitting on my shelf, and I'm probably never going to look at this thing any closer than 1 foot away. I'm not going to bother chunking out my little wheels just for the sake of a little realism. And you don't have to either. I don't think it's really necessary. There's enough things on this kit that if you're like me and you're just trying to represent a tank from a show, then all the visual up top is what you won't really care about. All this stuff underneath, not a big deal, and not really super necessary. The only thing I want to do is get rid of that seam in the middle, because that is going to be visible and I don't want that visible. So, a little bit of a hypocrite. Don't worry about the detail, but then worry about this detail, right? The things that I am going to see, that's what I care about, right? You have to keep in mind also, especially with the wheels, is the visibility. What is actually going to be visible? Okay, so let's put these on here. I don't think it really matters whether you put the axle in this way on this one, or you put the axle through on this way, because the wheels and hubs are identical. It's all just a matter of getting it together. And I want to try and have the wheels still turnable. I still want that, right? I want to be able to do that. Okay, so I'm going to try and not get glue on the hub, on the actual part. That, of course, is a tricky thing. So I'm going to use the thick glue because I know the thin will just run right into everything. And I'm going to try and put just a little dab right on the very tip. And while it's curing, there we go, tiny little dab. While it's curing, I'm gonna, yeah, see, it's glued. The glue got onto there. But I'm gonna keep turning this. because I know that this Tamiya thick glue doesn't like to be moved as it sets. So it might make it so this doesn't spin as easy, but as long as I keep doing this, it should work. At least that's my theory. Keep moving that until that glue is setting. See, the nice thing about Tamiya glue is it sets pretty quick, and it does not like to be moved around once it starts to set. So as long as I make sure, see, this one is really loose, which means I did not get any glue on there. But it'd be nice to have some kind of a workable conveyor belt. See, oh yeah, it wants to set here. So I'll just make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to come back to this after a minute too, to make sure both my wheels are still movable. Now, is it the end of the world if they do get glued? The only thing that will make it bad is I won't be able to paint the entire inside of the wheel because I won't be able to rotate them. Okay, that's the only thing that'll be really bad about that. Okay, it's not like the tracks are really going to be movable. I'm not going to be moving the tracks anyway, right? So that's the only thing. I'm getting a little spot here where it wants to kind of stop, but we'll just make sure that she keeps spinning free, right? Okay, so I'll put this down, and we'll see how that does in a minute. We'll grab a couple more wheels here. Okay, get two more. There we go. Double check. Yep, I think we're good. Where's my knife? There it is. So that's pretty much it, right? I am kind of glad I'm not working on a Tiger tank right now. I have done a Tiger build before. You guys have seen it, or maybe you haven't. I'll put a link down. Well, I'll put it at the end of the video. I'll show you my Tiger build if you want to check that out. One channel I do recommend if you love armor and you want to watch somebody who's really good at building armor kits, I highly recommend this guy. His name's Martin, and his channel is called Night Shift. If you have not heard of him or not seen him, but you like tank builds and learning how to do all the weathering and stuff like that, or even do dioramas, he does those too. I highly recommend him. I'm not sure where he's from. I know he's from Europe somewhere. Maybe Slovakia or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. He's got some kind of an accent. It's Slovakian or maybe Ukraine. I don't know. And Martin, if you ever happen to watch this, I apologize for not getting your nationality correct. But his techniques, like on how to do rust effects and how to weather tracks, he can make plastic tracks look like they're made out of metal, you know. And it's just, he's You know, he's been building models since he was a little kid, single-digit age, and his parents built models. Like, the guy comes from a family of model builders, which makes sense why he's so good at it. So yeah, I recommend it. I'll put a link down there. I'll put a link at the top, which I just recently learned how to do. So okay, with these done, they're ready to be glued on. Let's double check this guy. Yep, still nice and spinning. Perfect. Alright, that's a success. Again, it's just a little tiny bit of glue right on that tip, and then lining this up so I don't move the glue around. See, as the glue dries, you could feel the resistance, and suddenly it doesn't want to move if you got glue on it. So this one's pretty tight. So just want a little drop. See, this one's tight. Even without glue, this one's tight. But that doesn't mean you gotta glue it solid. Tight's fine. And I mean, I only want it, again, the only reason why I'm really caring about the wheels being able to turn is for painting them. That's the only reason. This one seems to have glued perfectly like that. This one's a little tight, but that's okay. We'll just keep doing this until it's happy. Okay, this one is still good, which means I got success glue on these. After I paint them, I really don't care if they become solid. Once they're painted, who cares, right? Once they're painted, it really doesn't matter at all. I do want to check something real quick here. Okay. It's been almost 40 minutes doing wheels. Let's double check. You see, this one doesn't spin quite so freely, but it's fine. Okay. Next, get rid of our parting line. Now you might want to criticize Tamiya for having this parting line in between on the wheels, but you can't. You can't criticize Tamiya on this because every company does their molds in the same kind of injection molding process where you're going to have a seam line like that, because they're actually pressing two halves together, two molds, and that's just the way the process is, and ain't no company gonna eliminate that. I'm sure if Tamiya could, they would, because then they would be one step, yet another step ahead of every other modeling company out there in their process. So just like mold seams on aircraft canopies, right? When the canopy is not fully 100%, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't mold it sideways. You have to mold it in two halves, and then you get that seam, and that's just the way life is. Of course, we're talking about wheels, so it doesn't matter nearly as much. Get this one done, and then I'll double check, triple check my other one. Seems to be a big seam on this one for some reason. A little more than the others. But we got it. Okay, double check. Spinies. Yep. Good. Okay, we're spinning, we're good. This one I did kind of, when I put it on, I went like this with it, and I did get a little glue on the edge, but you just keep spinning it, that glue will dry and then not affect it. But like I said, just like the others, I want to keep double checking it. Until I know that glue is dry and it's good, right? So there we go. Okay, another one done. 3 more to go. Now, should I continue to bore you with wheels? No, I'm going to do these other 3 off camera. Okay. I think you guys got the point in how to do the wheels, right? So the next step, now they're talking about putting the tracks together up top here. They show you how the tracks go together. I can show you that. Okay. The tracks have this little end here, okay, and it basically just goes around, and you put them in like that. Put a little bit of glue. Even though it's rubber, regular glue works, and you just glue them together. Press that in like that. And glue them down like this. That's the easiest way to do, is kind of press that in like that, and then you hold it, let that glue set, and then your tracks will be one piece, okay? And just like that. But I'm not going to do that now because I like to paint them when they're out like this, and I can paint them, right? And of course it starts with a nice little layer of primer first. So, and I'm not putting the tracks on because I need to paint the under part of the hull. I want to get this painted, right? Get this painted. I think what I should do first is get a nice little layer of black primer on there. Okay, I'll get that done first. Primer the bottom hull here so that is done. And then I'll get my green and I'll spray paint that, and then I'll start putting these guys on. Now these guys go on in a certain way. This little notch right here, okay, that notch right in there is going to line up with this peg just like this, and it's going to go on like that right there, just like that. And that's how these go on. Now, putting these on like that, it's actually not that bad of a deal in trying to spray paint. So I don't want to actually put them on because I've got the wheels on there, and then if I want to paint this thing, then I've got to mask off the wheels to prevent overspray. So yeah, then again, I do need to paint this, and yet now I've got the wheels on there. And so now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna have to paint these after everything's all sprayed to get the color I want. I'll have to paint the rubber afterwards, which means I might as well install these wheels. I might as well install them. So let's do that. Glue set a little bit, take a drink of coffee. Okay, we've got one wheel on. Another set on. And finally, our third set. Okay. Now, something that just came to my attention is these. Am I going to be able to get those other wheels in there? A15. These wheels that go right above there. There, there, and there. A15. I just realized I may have painted myself into a corner with that. A15. These little guys here. Let's grab one of those. Hopefully I can fit that in there. No, I cannot. Which means these gotta come off. Or at least be moved to be able to get this in there. Yeah. Fun stuff, right? Fun stuff. See, this is where you learn to not skip ahead. Don't skip stages, because now I got to re-glue that wheel. I actually have to re-glue them all. Because I've got to break that seal in order to get this on there. Okay, so I'll just use some thin. A little bit of thin in there, and that'll redo our bond. Whatever bond was broken. Okay, so now we've got our little idler wheels on there too, which yeah, I think after I painted it I'll glue these on. These don't need to spin, and the fact that if I leave them loose then they could potentially drift out to that and be touching there and not sit properly. So after it's painted I'll make sure these are glued on there properly, so they're not wobbling like this, right? But for now, they're on there. We have our other wheels. These guys go here, like that, and like that. These ones don't matter nearly as much because obviously I can put them on there, right? That's not a problem. And then of course our main ones go on the front. They have a pulley cap, so they are removable, right? And you can take these ones off anytime you want, just like that. Anyway, that's that. I gotta clean up the seams on these guys too. I'll do that another time. Okay, so wheels are on that side. I'm not gonna bore you with the other side. Let's see what else is going down here. I think I may have to... We're halfway through the book already. We're going to take a look at our upper hull here. Let's put this guy aside for now. Now that we can let that glue set. Okay, let's take a look at our upper hull. We got a couple of braces and stuff like that to put in and remove. So let's take a look at it. Got our upper hull here. We have to remove a couple of things, such as this brace across here. And this brace here. And take this piece off. We're going to preserve this piece. Okay. And it's actually going to go in right here. Just like that. Okay. And we're going to grab R8 and L37. So that's K. So we want L37, this piece here. And then R8. Big flat piece. There we go. Be careful when trimming off our nubs here because it looks like this is actually not 90 degrees. This is at an angle like that, so be careful with that. Alright, so this piece goes on the back like that. We've got nice little alignment tabs that are just going to help us out, in theory. Yep, looks good. sure we're lots of glue in there. So with the back panel put on, the little peg thing in there, and we've got our front there, that's ready. That's about done. The next step is going to be doing these, or I guess what do we call the fenders, I guess you'd say, the skirts that go on the sides, but we've got to do with some photo etch here. We've got some things from my Edward kit to add some detail on here. And part of adding that detail is replacing the front fender tip, right, with the photo etch piece. But we're going to do that next time. Okay, so we've got different places. It's nice that Edward shows you that the actual kit part. This is K22, for example. Looks like a sledgehammer, where you, in the red, you cut that piece off and you replace it with a piece of the photo etch. And so you go through the whole thing. It's got 2 pages, all kinds of different detail. There's not a whole lot of different things. It's just like little handle pieces and things like that. Some detail on the machine gun and the machine gun bracket. On our little piece here, where you cut that off and replace it with the photo etch. Strap over the shovel. It's just little details like that. Looks like we've got a piece here, some kind of a little plate or bracket that's going to go on in there. Just these little things to add some detail to it, to give it a little bit more realism. Our little brackets that go along the sides here. Yeah, just little things like that. So we're going to do that next time. We'll look at those. Got to cut these pieces off of these fenders, and we'll put those on and get that done. But we'll do that next time. Okay, guys? Yeah, we'll get that done next time. We'll I'll get my other 3 wheel sets put together, and I'll get those installed for next time, and we'll continue from there. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming out. And let's have a look at our description box down below there, and look at the links in there. You can head on over to my Twitch and follow me on there. You can watch me live, and you can head on over to my Instagram, and you can check out still pictures of all the stuff I built in the past, and all that stuff. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next one.